Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wealth Conversation podcast with me, Tsitsi Mutiti. I guide high-achieving women on their journey to build lasting wealth so they can prepare for an abundant future in every area of their life. I hope that today's episode will help you to transform your relationship with money so you can make the choices that will enable you to create the opportunities and lasting wealth that you desire. Let's get straight into this week's episode. This episode is dedicated to Black History Month, which is celebrated in October here in the UK. As my contribution to this very special period in the UK calendar, I will be celebrating the people who I believe are making history right now in the Black community. I will be speaking with Lorlett Hudson, who has spent the last 21 years supporting and developing exceptional leaders in the African and Caribbean communities. Lorlett is the founder and CEO of One Hand Can't Clap, a multi-award-winning learning and development enterprise in the UK, operating with a purpose to transform high-performing African Caribbean senior professionals into exceptional leaders who are lit by their lives and are excited by what is possible for them. She is an original thinker, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur, inventor, an executive and transformational coach whose ideas have transformed the effectiveness and quality of life for many individuals and organizations. Welcome, Lorlett, to the Wealth Conversation podcast. I'm so glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Sitsi, for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm really happy to be here.
So let's start right at the beginning. Please tell us a bit about you, your background, and what you do on a daily basis to support the community.
Okay. I was born in Jamaica. I lived there up until the age of 13. And then I came to the UK. And, being able to navigate two different cultures, it's really a great asset. Coming from somewhere else and coming into something new, it's a completely university of life because it enables you to see different cultures and learn new things. I wake up every day and I look at, the importance of leadership. And, leaders are the ones that makes a difference. Leaders are the ones who say, let's go. Leaders are the one with the visionaries. And I think it's important that everyone see themselves as a leader.
What was it that made you decide that you are going to dedicate your time and energy to supporting high-performing African Caribbean professionals specifically?
Representation matters. And, when I look around, the data, the stories, the statistics, the news, it actually says that African Caribbean people are underachieving. So I come up with what would it be like if we develop their capacity as leaders. And if you look historically, we've always been great inventors, creators, and navigators around the world. So where did this story come from? So we have to, disrupt that story and enabling us to see ourselves as visionary leaders, exceptional leaders out there doing, so that's my vision. I got up one day and said to myself, I'm going to make a difference. And I've been doing that for the last 21 years. It is working and enabling many individuals to see themselves doing things that they never imagined themselves doing. And they're actually doing that now. So all it takes is somebody to actually say you can and hold you until you actually feel comfortable to fly on your own. And we all need that. We all need mentors. We all need somebody to guide us, no matter who we are.
Yeah, that really resonates with me because I have worked with you, Lorlett, and I did feel that sense of community, but you gave me and the people I was working with at the time the space to grow, make mistakes. You kind of showed us where we were erring, and the guidance was so important because for me specifically, I didn't have that sense of belief that I was a leader or I could do these things that I was thinking I'd potentially want to do in my life. So having somebody there to guide you is so important. When I came into financial services, I couldn't see people who looked like me. So even though they were there, but the representation wasn't out there. So I think your work is really extremely important. And one thing I gained from it was confidence to step out there and do the things that I felt were important for me to do in my industry and in my community.
When I see you grow, and the people who's been in the community to actually see you grow from where you are to where you are now, it's actually sending a message. Yes, we can, and we can do it, and we will do it. Because if you can do it, so can anyone else. You just need guidance.
So true. Guidance and someone to believe in you, I think, is really important. And that's one of the biggest things I got from the community. Your business is called One Hand Can't Clap. Some would say that's a very long name. Why did you choose that name for the business?
Wow, it's interesting that you say it's long. I see it as short. It's very complex, very intricate, and very simple. The name One Hand Can't Clap. It's around collective responsibilities, around partnership. There's a lot, it's loaded with so much wisdom and a way of life. And as a leader, it's about teamwork. It's impossible to do anything by yourself. You cannot leverage just yourself. You have to leverage with other people. It's about relationships, isn't it?
I love it, Lorlett. I actually love the name, especially when you broke it down and made me understand what it's actually all about. And it's true. One hand can't clap, literally. You need the other hand, which with many fingers as well to do that. So I know you have got a tool that you use when you're supporting leaders, and it is a set of cards which are Jamaican proverbs, and you've called them things Mama used to say. Why did you feel it was important to create these cards, and how do you use them to support your work?
So just like one hand can't clap, it's a proverb and it's loaded with lots of wisdom. So I thought to myself, just like how you said, it's a very long sentence. But when you look at it, it's a very short sentence in a sense, but it captures a lot of wisdom and life skills and how you navigate yourself. And each proverb is really about how you live your life moment to moment to moment. So whatever you're doing, there's always a proverb to really tackle that problem, that challenge, is whatever it may be. And I think it's important. I was working with a group of Black boys in schools, and I wanted them to really get the essence of understanding the wisdom of their culture, their heritage, storytelling, because that's where everything comes from. The Proverbs capture everything about us, our lifestyle, our way of being, our way of thinking, how we navigate ourselves. Fundamentally, it's where our values come from. Our values are passed down throughout the generation through our proverbs and through our wisdom and our storytelling. So if you pick a proverb, for example, you can't sit in a bucket and draw water at the same time. What that actually means is that, you have to put yourself in action. And action is about caring. When you care about something, you take action about it. So I got them to really understand the importance of Proverbs. And I see how it transformed these boys. And I thought, we need to preserve them. We need to really keep them alive. Because if we don't, we will lose fundamentally a key part of our culture and our heritage. That's why I created them. Didn't know what I was doing. I just had a passion for it. And, they still are relevant. They're still being sold. And so far, I've sold 21,000 copies. So, there is a need for it, even though the publishers were telling me when I first started to send out the idea to publishing houses, and they were telling me that there was no market for it. But I didn't listen, and this is what I'm saying to you listeners. If you have an idea and you really want to make it come alive, there's going to be a lot of people going to tell you can't, because they can't actually see it. It's your vision, and I stick with it. and make it become a reality. And so for me, the importance of our legacy and our heritage, we need to keep it alive. Otherwise, we lose it.
I couldn't agree more, Lorlett. And what you said about if you've got a vision and other people can't see it, just go with it. I think one of the things that stops a lot of people is that self-doubt, that lack of self-belief, that, you know, if other people can't see it, will everybody else see it? And you're a prime example of just pushing forward and taking the action to get the cards out there. And the people who those cards resonated with got it and started buying it. And you've now developed it into many, many things. So it's a really great live example of just pushing forward, sticking to your vision and seeing it through to fruition. Could you share with us some of the things Mama used to say about wealth and money?
Yeah, my money story is always, we're not going to live on a park bench. That was my money story. That was my mother's story. You're not going to live on a park bench. We're not going to sleep on a park bench. Mm-hmm. So that means that, you know, you must always take care of yourself, you know. And I always have this fear of losing everything and having to sleep on a park bench. So fear is my driver in the sense of, yes, I push myself because that means, you know, I'll always be in a position where there's always money, regardless of what it is. It's not about the amount, you know, it was always the sheer fact that you got money. Whether it was £2 or whether it was £1, there's always money. You never got the mindset that there was never any money. It doesn't matter how much, what the figure was, you know, so long I have money, that's it. What we were never told about the amount, but it was always making sure that you have money regardless. Even every time you leave the house, you're going out with friends. She'll always say, have you got your vexation money, right? Meaning you're out with your friends and you're vexed and you basically want to go home. You're not tied to them. So it's always, money is always associated with freedom. Money gives you the freedom, the option to do. Meaning that you're not going to sleep on a park bench. If you're upset with your friends, they don't have to hold you to hostage. You know, you basically have your own money to do what you got to do. My mother was somebody that was clued up in a sense. It was always about independence, always be independent. You know, she even has a way, and I used to tell this to the young people I teach. She used to say to me, there's 2 things you need to survive in Britain. And it's having an umbrella and a front door key, you know, and you think to yourself, what's that? You know, but when you really look at the wisdom of it, it's about getting wet. So I think she had this whole thing around, you must always make sure you have a shelter. You know, I mean, if she was alive, I think, well, that's one of the things I would explore with her. Is she ever been homeless? Because, you know, her whole thing was always about shelter. And money to her represented shelter. So he's having a house. So by the time I was 23, I bought my first property, you know, and always continue to do that. And even talking about wealth, I've just bought a property in Jamaica, which I'm transforming into a retreat for leaders to come and really look at their vision and take themselves to the next level. And that for me is around creating wealth and a legacy, that the next generation can actually have a property that we weren't allowed to go in as children growing up. It was a space that we weren't allowed to go into because of the way society is structured around colonization and plantation lives. So I bought this property as a way for people and the second generation coming up under me to actually see what's possible. So when you have a business, it's about leveraging and expanding it. So from the cards, from starting off doing workshops in school to creating the cards, to now buy property in Jamaica, that's wealth. That's creating wealth. And that came from the concept with my mother, you know, is making sure that you always have some stability in your life in terms of freedom.
I absolutely love that. So many lessons in that, Lorlett. Thank you for sharing your story and introducing us to your mother in such a way. I always used to say to my daughter, make sure you've got money for a taxi when she went out. You know, I wish I'd known that it's called the vexation money. I'm like, that is such a gem. And that's a clear example of the wisdom that's there from the older generation. And I love the African Caribbean culture, because we've just got a way with words, right? Even if it's English words, we just have a way of turning it into something that means a lot more. Like vexation money. Wow, that's phenomenal. I'm going to be using that all the time now.
What I like about the communication, it's so simple. It's something that you can actually feel. You feel it when it's expressed. You actually visualize it as well. So the vexation, you can actually visualize you being vexed. And I got money in my pocket, so I'm going. So you can actually take that on and embody it into your everyday existence. And that's why I like the Proverbs. It's so it's so part of you. It's a moment to moment experience that you're going through. So when she talk about vexation, it's a moment that something happened. And you have to make a decision in that moment about how am I going to get myself out of this situation.
Yeah, I've just had an idea. I think I'm going to do an episode on vexation money.
And I'm telling you, you will get a lot of people resonate with it, because as children, we were brought up on that. And that's why it's important. And that's why the card sells so well, because people remember their socialization and the way they were brought up, and it takes them back to their values, because this is what it is. It's so ours, it's so us, it's so our culture, it's so our history, about the way how we live our lives, our survival technology, and how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, definitely. Lorlett, you mentioned your retreat in Jamaica. And I know you've got other programs as well. So can you just tell us how individuals can work with you?
Okay, so the retreat for me, it's about really amplifying your vision. So maybe somebody have written a book. Maybe somebody want to be an artist. Maybe somebody, want to create something, regardless of what it is, because we all have ideas. And how do we amplify that idea? So you come out to Jamaica, to the retreat for 7 days, and we look at your branding, we look at the structure, and then we do what we call a backward planner with you. So we start off, say it's now August 2022, standing in that, what is your desired outcome? So you create that, you literally create it and make it come alive. And then you work your way back on a month-to-month basis of what you're going to accomplish. So that's what you left the retreat with, in that sense. Also, you'll get the opportunity to see case studies of people who have ideas and make them become a reality, in that sense. Even somebody like yourself, Sitsi, you decided that you're going to create a business, which is about the conversation for wealth, and you make it happen, and we work together to make sure that you have a structure and a plan to take it, because it's easier when you have a plan. You know exactly what you need to do. You know who to call upon, because when you don't have a plan, you struggle in that sense. So what you get is a structure of how you take your ideas to reality. And you get the sun.
Yes,
and
the
food,
sun. And the
and the
lovely
culture,
scenery. Yeah.
and the scenery, and the beach, and anything else that goes with it.
Yeah, all in Jamaica. That sounds amazing.
Exactly.
I'm yet to go on the retreat, but I can't wait to attend the retreat.
2022, you'll be there.
Yeah. I'll be putting it in my diary.
Good.
You also have the What Next program, Lorlett. Tell us about that.
What next? It's really, again, moment to moment to moment, how you live your life and how you structure your life. So we have challenges, and we know in organization, there's so many individuals that come to me. They don't know how to navigate themselves around the system. They understand what it takes to be a manager, but they don't understand what it takes to be a leader. And manager and leadership is two different things. You can manage these processes, you can manage time, you can manage certain things, but you can't really, manage people. I told people, you can't manage people, you can only influence them, right? Because if somebody do not trust you, do not like you, they're not going to listen to you. So the first thing is, how do I relate to people, and how do I create possibilities with them, and how do I really see that what I'm actually having conversation with you is enabling you to think bigger, grow bigger, expand yourself, and have a vision for yourself. That's what leaders do. They lead other people to create things that might seem impossible and believe in their dreams, influence people. So what the program is about is enabling you, the leader, knowing how to influence other people to take actions, to listen to you. And I say, if somebody just doesn't want to listen to you, it's impossible, because you have to find out what really matters to that individual, really understand what motivates them. What is it they're really about? You cannot force people to do things. And unfortunately, we live in a society which is all about compliance. And then when you put people in a place that they have to comply, then they resist.
Yeah, that resonates with me a lot. I'm a natural rebel, I feel, but I keep it inside. And working in the industry that I do, it is about compliance. So it's difficult in a lot of spaces, I think, because you're kind of trained to stick to the rules. And sometimes as a leader, to get things done, you need to go outside of the lines a little bit, to create progress and to support people. So it is about really developing that skill set, the confidence in what you are trying to get done. And I think the important thing, what I got anyway from the What Next program, was having other leaders going through the process with me and us sharing our ups and downs, but also having the support when people were just like, no, you can do it. And what is it that you need? We're here to support you. And I think that's the great thing about the program, but also something that people need to remember, that as a leader, you're not doing it on your own. You need your team around you.
You need community.
Yeah.
And what One Hand Can't Clap really is about community. You need community. You need to understand the diversity. We talk about diversity and inclusion, but for me, it starts off with, do you really care about people? Because that's the fundamental key things. Yeah, you talk about diversity and inclusion, but do you really, really care about people? Because that's the only way. When people really understand that you care about them, they will move mountains for you. That's a human thing. It's not about compliancing. It's about caring for people, enabling people to know that you care about them. You've got their interests at heart. I come from the old school of working in corporations where, your manager care about you. They would say, well, have you considered your pension? Have you considered what's going to happen to you? Imagine that you're a 19-year-old and you have a manager saying, you need to start looking at your pension. I now benefit from pension. My manager told me when I was 19 years old to start looking at investing and creating money for myself. And I was 19. And because of that lesson, has enabled me to be comfortably doing what I'm doing right now. So I think it's important for people to understand leadership is about caring. And I'll never forget that manager of mine, my very first manager. All he was interested in, what's going to happen to you when you get older? I was 19. What would I be thinking about that, at my age now? It just seems so far away, but he cared. So whatever he wanted me to do, something triggers me to enable me. Oh, he's thinking about me. He's caring about me. He's got my interests at heart. So when we think about diversity and inclusion, the first thing is, do you really care?
I love that, Lorlett. The What Next program and your retreat, absolutely phenomenal. I know I haven't been on the retreat, but I know what you are putting into that retreat, and having done the What Next program and then used what I learned to kind of help me get to where I am now with the Wealth Conversation. I wish I'd had that 7-day, gone through that 7-day process of mapping out the next 12 months and just using that as my guide. I think I'd have been further along than I am today. So I would encourage everyone to look into the retreat, and maybe we'll be on it together in 2022.
Definitely.
Lorlett, it has been a pleasure. I am going to ask you the question that I ask all my guests, because as you know, I believe that in order to create true wealth, we must all be clear on what wealth means to us in each area of our life, because it's not just about money. So in a few words, please, could you share with us what wealth means to you in the following areas in your life? And those areas are physical well-being, mental well-being, spiritual well-being, social well-being, and financial well-being.
Well, in a nutshell, in all areas, if I can wake up every morning feeling excited about my life, that's wealth. That's it in a nutshell. All I want to do is wake up every day feeling excited about my life. And that, for me, will trigger down in everything I do in every aspect of my life. And that's what I said to all my clients. My mission is to coach people to really feel excited and lit up about their lives every day, regardless of what it is. You know, that's my mission. That's my core. Feeling excited about the things that you do.
I absolutely love that. And yeah, feeling excited just gives you energy to wake up in the morning and move, you know, which feeds into the physical, the mental, everything. And when you're excited, you want to be around people, etc. So absolutely love that, Lorlett. Thank you for that. How can listeners get in touch with you if they want to work with you or find out more about the programs or even buy the cards?
Okay. Everything is on my website, which is www.onehandcantclap.co.uk. That's it. And it's spelled one, ONEHANDCANTCLAP.co.uk. Because some people think it's the number one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never ever thought that. You see, it's that thing about perception and how you view things, right?
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I'll also be putting the link to your website in the show notes so people can just click on that and get straight to your website. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. You are truly an exceptional leader, and I thank you for accepting the mission to developing and supporting the other exceptional leaders in the African and Caribbean community. For me personally, your work is not only impacting individuals like myself, but it's also impacting our communities and generations to come. And that is what I call generational wealth.
Thank you, Sitsi. You know, it's been a pleasure to see you soaring, flying, taking yourself on. I feel like the happy mother, the happy grandmother, and the generational, you know, because you are our dreams. You know, this is what it's about. We have to disrupt the narrative, you know. And when we think about our history, this is what I want to see. Exceptional leaders like yourself out there doing extraordinary things.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Connect with me at The Wealth Conversation on Facebook and Instagram so we can continue the discussion. Also, if you're ready to define what wealth truly means to you, then go to thewealthconversation.com and download the Wealth Cornerstones guide. Until next week, stay focused on becoming the designer of your financial future.